Let's start with the disclaimer, of course. Now, the information in this video is for educational purposes only. They're not in any way investment advice, okay? So if you are looking for investment advice, always talk to a qualified fiduciary professional before making any investment decisions. I would like also to disclose that Maestri does currently hold Bitcoin and investment in other cryptocurrencies. Let's start talking about Bitcoin and altcoin. Now, recently, there have been more people asking me about this. So let's talk about what is going on right now. Uh, One interesting thing to note is let's talk about how cryptocurrency mining works, right? People have this big, this main idea in their head that mining is the only way to make money with cryptocurrency. And the thing about mining is that eventually, you do run out of coins to mine, and that's where a big part of the income came from. Was you would mine the coins, you would then sell them at a good price, and that's where your actual profit came in. But that's not the only way that miners are paid. Miners are also paid when they take care of the ledger. So when you make a transaction using Bitcoin, miners get a percentage, well, a small fee actually, from what you're transferring. If you're transferring from one account to another, there's a tiny fee, and this goes to the miners. You can think of this just like you would think a credit card or any other payment processor like PayPal. That's how they make their money. Uh, Largely, anyway, that's where the money comes from. So that's something that we have to keep in mind, that what happened back a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken, 2018, that was one thing. That was about selling cryptocurrency, mainly Bitcoin, for as high as a price as you could get it, right? So it was something completely speculative, and it still is very different. It's not your traditional asset, but it isn't the same thing as it was previously. Okay, that's something I like to start out with. So when it comes to the ledger, when you make a transaction and the miners get a fee for it, that is something that's one, it's more stable. The more people are using this system, the more the miners get paid. So this sounds like a more sustainable system than it is to just try to mine as many coins as you can and just hope for the best. Now, an example of this is meshnets. I remember there was a project with meshnets. Now, if you don't know what a meshnet is, a meshnet uses your own router that you have at home to act also as a router for other routers. So basically, you create a type of decentralized internet or wide area network, WAN, but you would make your router work not only to transfer your data, but also other people's data. And one of the things that they had in mind was to use coins, cryptocurrency, to reward those who spent more time or transferred more data. Whoever offered more to the network would get more. So you'd get kind of a community gathered up, and those with a higher processing power would be rewarded for using this. So you would have an incentive to help decentralize the network. Now, that was the focus with Bitcoin. The Bitcoin idea, the whole idea behind it was that you could have a decentralized and completely transparent network that, it was proof of work. You could verify that everything matched up. One problem with that is if someone has, let's say, 51% or more of the processing power in the network, then they can make a tax on this network, and it will look like it's true because they have most of the processing power. So most of what the data that gets verified does say yes, this person does have these many coins. So it's a type of attack that could basically turn it into a two times spent coins that should have only been spent once. So that's one downside to it. But there have been major changes. To start out, I mean, cryptocurrencies have now begun growing in their commercial applications. So we're seeing smart contracts or other things that are tethered to cryptocurrency mining, basically the blockchain as it's called. Blockchain would be the proof of work, the foundation for cryptocurrencies. And since they can be in general quite reliable, people have started to use this in a commercial scenario. Now that is good. That means that now it's turning from a purely speculative position to something that's actually a commercial product. It's something that should be ranking in money every month. But there is a few things about that. The first thing that really should be taken into account is that there are a ton of altcoins, as they're called. They're not Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the first, and then there were forks when people take the program and they make changes to it, which aren't official changes. Think about a car with an engine, right? Engine works basically on the same principle, but there's a difference between, let's say, a car from Ford, a pickup truck, and let's say a Bugatti. That's more of a speed car versus one that's more of a torque car. And they have different uses in the way that they were made and adapted, right? So we believe that should happen is that all coins would be common, but there will be some hallmark coins. So the same way, we have the US dollar, which is, the standard worldwide. And then we have the euro, the British pound, and the yen as other coins that are major, not the most used, but still very used coins for international negotiations. We believe that something like it could happen with these cryptocurrencies. So you'll have very specific coins, such as the Swiss franc, for example, and they will be used for these contracts, smart contracts, or anything of the sort. And then you have maybe 2 to 4 coins that are the ones that are most traded and would be references. So I imagine that people would start mining altcoin, but most of them would probably prefer if they get paid in one of these major coins. That is technically a good thing, because this means that we can have currencies, cryptocurrencies, or blockchain technology that can be very specialized in one aspect or another. So we can have a very well planned, a very well executed, well developed cryptocurrency that uses blockchain or something with a blockchain technology that works specifically for one specific purpose. Now, one will be specifically for, let's say, the chain of custody of evidence, for example, in a police force. We could be talking about contracts. We could be talking about all kinds of things. I mean, this is brand new. There's so much that can be done right now that it's really hard to say. But we know that if we create this type of an environment, that we can have few specific coins that are used as major trading coins, and having other coins, these altcoins, that are very specific to what they're supposed to be doing, then that would be something that would advance the blockchain technology further. Now, one thing that these cryptocurrencies have been doing, these altcoins, is that they're saying, ASIC miners, you're out. Only GPUs. And that should make sense. Because if the idea is to have a decentralized system that it can be proven to be correct because there are many different people working at it, then this should be decentralized. And ASIC miners are very, very specific, such as, SHA-256, as we saw with Bitcoin. That's a very specific miner that only mines Bitcoin. It's expensive as heck, it's really expensive to run, and a handful of people could actually get a hold of it. So if you really want to create a decentralized system that you can actually trust, then something that people have at home, now that is something that would make more sense. For example, with the decentralized meshnet internet, that would make sense because everyone would have a router, everyone would be part of it. And GPU would help, GPU only would really help bring things to a more level playing field, right? And this would skew, or if we were to create a histogram of it, this would skew things back to a more bell-shaped normal distribution curve. It would still be a bit skewed because there are some people who can just, have 50, 100, thousands of GPUs at their disposal. But in general, people, day-to-day people, could still get access to it. So that would help take so much out of few hands, of few countries, few groups that just can get a lot of ASIC mining, can get discounts with mining costs such as electricity. So this levels the playing field, and this does create a more verifiable, a safer environment for the blockchain and the way it works. An interesting thing is that GPUs are also very versatile. I said just now about the SHA-256. Now that's one algorithm that's extremely specific. A GPU, on the other hand, GPUs have a much greater capacity at doing other tasks as well. So if you have multiple currencies, multiple cryptocurrencies, doing a very specific job, it makes so much sense of how easy it would be for one miner to say, I'll decrease mining this cryptocurrency to do this one that's specialized in whatever it is that's specialized, to meet and kind of level the supply and demand. Because you can do that. With an ASIC miner, you wouldn't be able to do this. And when we talk about even the people who can have thousands of GPUs at their disposal, when you're talking about, let's say, nonprofits like the Folding at Home project, that could be part of their own internal social responsibility program. So it just creates a much more sensible environment than what we currently have. What we have right now with ASICs is I'm mining a coin because I plan on selling it. I'm not trying to make money from fees. I'm not trying to make money when people use it. I'm just speculating on it. And speculation is not a sustainable product. It just simply, it's not. It just simply isn't. So let's talk about you. Let's say you are interested in investing in a mining operation. Well, again, this is not advice. These are simply our thoughts on it. We do have part of our investments in cryptocurrencies. I do want to make this clear. But from a more technical standpoint, to create a viable commercial product, and you want to get into that, you want to invest in this technology because, like many people, you believe that this is something that is viable, that can be turned into something that would help humanity, that would help further our cause as, people in general, not just one specific group, but in general, with the decentralization. Then when you're setting things up, We believe that it works very similar to a factory, right? So the first thing I saw people doing, especially in 2018, was how long will it take for my hardware to pay itself off, right? So how many coins do I have to mine? How long will that take? Now, when you buy, for example, let's say a combine harvester for some kind of plantation, there is a certain amount of time before, or a certain number of crops before you can actually make more money than what you spent on it, right? But that's just the beginning of it, because that just gets rid of your initial startup costs. Let's think of it that way, because what you have left is the life cycle of that product. So how long will that GPU last, right? How long will it still be relevant? We've seen that every 4 to 5 years, it processing capacity has doubled, right? Many people have been looking at this, and many scholars are saying, well, look, this curve, it's starting to reach its it, its peak. From now on, there's going to be advancements, obviously, but it's just not going to keep doubling forever. So I imagine that this would help increase the life cycle of the product, but you have other things to worry about. If they burn out, if you use faulty equipment, if something goes wrong, overcharges, undercharges, there are a vast number of problems that can go wrong and break your machines. It's a machine. So you got to think what's going to happen not only between when you buy it and when you've paid it off, but after you've paid it off, and what kind of profit margins you're having till the end of the cycle, right? And an interesting thing is that we start seeing economies of scale popping in, because if you can buy 1,000 GPUs, I'm really sure that you will get a discount. If you can't get a discount buying thousands of GPUs, then there's something weird going on, okay? So economies of scale still seems to apply in this field. You're buying hardware, you're still paying electricity. It's just too similar to ignore. Another thing we can look at is at marginal costs, right? So to produce, to increase your production, how much does it cost? Well, that's interesting. I'm going to see if I can do this the right way. I should be going this way. So your marginal costs start up. So let's say you're using a mining rig that uses GPUs. So you have to buy your motherboard, your CPU, your RAM, your GPU. Then you can start adding a second GPU, a third, a fourth. I think you can go up to maybe like 8. So you'll have it going up, and then a curve as it goes down, and then you reach a limit. There's a certain limit. There's a maximum number of GPUs you can put into a mining rig and have it work in a sensible and sustainable format. So you won't have to be looking at like 20 GPUs, which I have seen people set up, but not without issue. So once you get to that point, let's say 8, or if you really want to push it, let's say 20, there is a limit. Then you have to buy once more CPU, RAM, motherboard, power supplies, and then you can just start adding GPUs, and then just kind of have this cycle where it pops up, goes down, pops up, goes down, pops up, goes down. At least this is what we have found when we've taken a look at prices. You have this big spike in cost, marginal cost, after X number of GPUs. And I mean, this is just normal to any kind of industry. You see, once again, we're seeing these similarities. If you have a factory producing, ice cream, it's like the classical example for business class. It's, the ice cream factory, because ice cream has different demands according to the time of year. So it's something that we look at a lot at business school. If you have an ice cream company, you can buy a new machine and keep adding new machines, but at one point the electricity you're getting is insufficient. Your cabling does not support that much power going through it. The amperage is just too high. You need to increase that. Eventually, you're going to run out of, for example, space. I mean, you have a factory, you can fill it up till the brim, but then you have to expand your factory. So either you're going to have to buy a new lot, or you're going to have to expand on your current lot. You're going to have to pay for construction costs. There's going to be a bunch of things that once again will increase the price, your marginal cost to add another machine, and then it goes down depending on how you set it up, obviously. And even services, if you think about it, you have people working for you, and at one point you're going to need more chairs, you're going to need more computers, you're going to need more office space. It just seems to follow the same logic. And after all of this, there's another thing that you have to keep in mind. Okay, I have 1,000 GPUs, right? Or maybe, you just did it at home, you have 3 rigs running, let's say, 8 GPUs in each one of them, right? So at this point, you've got about 24 GPUs, which is quite a bit, considering an normal computer only has 1, 2 if it's like really top end, 4 if whatever, the person just wanted to get ridiculous with it. So 24 GPUs is quite a bit. What are you going to do with that at the end of the life cycle of that product, right? It's no longer profitable to you. I mean, let's think about it. A, does it even still work? Did it burn out? Can you recycle it? Can you donate it? Maybe have a giveaway. Can you give it to academic institutions, health research? So students, even high school students, I mean academics, but we could be talking about even high school students. I'm sure that in many places this is better than what they had previously, considering you were able to maintain it at pretty good conditions. So what do you do at the end of the life cycle of something like this? That's something you got to be asking yourself. So generally, this seems to be what, at the time of filming this video, what we believe would make most sense for blockchain technology to be something that can be profitable for not just people who are speculating, but actually have a commercial product, have a commercial solution to something. You have to solve a problem. It might not be the best problem. You might think that there's not a problem, but it is a solution. And for it to be commercially viable on the long term, considering all the things we took a look at, the life cycle of the product, how long it takes for it to be not only paying back your initial cost, but also whatever profit you have after that, and also take into consideration the economical and really environmental impacts that it can have. These are the kind of things that, if you are involved, we believe that should be in your mind. We think that ASIC mining is something that just shifts things too far for something that was supposed to be common, decentralized. If it's supposed to be like a mesh net where everyone is part of it, then it has to be something that everyone can have at home. So either you can make ASICs extremely available to people, really cheap prices, or something. I'm just spitballing ideas right now, but it has to be something that almost anyone can get in. You can't have so many entry barriers, right? You should think about marginal costs as well. Just because you got one rig doesn't mean you can perfectly just scale it, infinitely. There are costs associated. These marginal costs, they do eventually get at higher levels. Do keep this in mind. Once more, we do have cryptocurrency. We do invest in it. We do use it. So, we do have somewhat of a bias here. I mean, as an investment company, it's much easier for us to just say, okay, we don't like this anymore and just sell it. But this is to you. If you're interested in blockchain technology, in decentralizing, this is what we think that would keep at least us interested in blockchain technology. This is what would make, us as investors interested, okay? So thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a thumbs up This really helps the channel. Subscribe, because we'll be talking about this and other subjects later on. If you have any thoughts, do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Leave a comment down below. We'll do our best to reply, check it out. Sometimes there are just too many for us, but we'll do our best. And do keep in touch. So my name is Eduardo Bogosian. Thank you so much, and see you next time.